What is up, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about Megasquirt, but first I wanted to mention something as a lot of my Snapchat followers and Instagram followers have been interested. I was posting some stuff about flying high power rockets, and a lot of people a long time ago when we did a video with some model rockets in it when Brendan first got his Phantom 3, I asked if anyone would be interested in watching videos of me flying high power rockets, so I actually rebooted a channel I have that's very old. You can check out the video in the top right here. It did more of a vlog style video, and yesterday I flew to my highest flight ever. Absolutely ridiculously loud, super fast rocket. Cool stuff. Go check that out if you'd like. Subscription to that channel would be awesome as well. As many of you are aware, right here, you can kind of see it, not really, is my 1986 Volvo 740. There you go, right in the corner there. If you want to know more information about this Volvo, you can check out the video in the top right corner right now. However, all you need to know about it for this video is it is running on Megasquirt. I get asked a lot, is it hard and is it cheap? The answer to both those questions is no from my perspective. I also get asked a lot, is it worth it? And I would just say yes, but I'll let these video clips of all the fun I've had in my Volvo tell you for me. Let me preface this by saying I am not a professional. I'm not a professional Megasquirter. I don't know if that's actually a term. I am not a professional anything, but I will tell you my experience and I'll give you the best advice I can based on what I've learned so far from Megasquirting my drift Volvo. But first I'm going to take you guys inside the garage because the lighting's a little bit better and there's no wind noise and my neighbors will think I'm less weird. We are inside now and I am standing next to my Volkswagen 9A 2-liter 16 valve. That's my next Megasquirt project, so it makes it appropriate. Lighting's a little bit better, less outside noise, no wind, so let's dig in here. So the first thing you're going to want to investigate if you want to Megasquirt your car is whether or not there is a plug and play option. Because there's plug and play options for quite a few engines, off the top of my head, they make them for the Miata, both 1.6 and 1.8 I believe. 2JZ, SR20 DET, let's see, the Ford Probe engine, not sure why, apparently enough people requested it. There's a lot of them. If you just go to DIYautotune.com, look at their plug and play, 2nd gen, 3rd gen, and then MS3 Pro has a lot of plug and play options as well. If you're not going to go the plug and play route, you're gonna have to decide if you want to piggyback it or go full standalone. My Volvo out there is full standalone. None of the engine harness from the original factory car is used at all. It 100% runs off my Megasquirt ECU, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I would highly recommend it, but it's up to you whether or not you want to use your stock ignition controller, you know, stuff like that. But just a simple wiring setup like I did with mine is wonderful. And that's kind of the beauty of the wiring setup, and whether or not you're going to piggyback it, you can do as clean of a job as you want. You can leave it out like I did, because I don't really care on that car, but on this one, I'm going to tuck all the wires and keep it as clean as possible because it's going in my 79 Volkswagen Rabbit, which is my baby. It's going to get a new paint job, everything's going to be clean, clean car. I just want it to be that way, and that's the beautiful thing, is you can do it however you want it. You can get it running and be happy with it like the Volvo, or like my Rabbit's gonna be, you can take your time and really eliminate a whole lot of factory wiring if you go full standalone and just make it as clean as a whistle. Now would be a fantastic time for me to tell you to go to teespring.com/boostjunkie and buy one of these shirts for only $16.99, and they're only available for a limited time, but I won't because I know you guys hate it. I also definitely will not put a card in the top right corner. You're gonna need to understand what trigger system your car uses, whether or not you have a crank angle sensor, a crank position sensor, or a Hall sensor, like both my instances do. Once you figure that out, it's not really a big deal. The wiring connects exactly the same, but you need to figure out what you're using because you're going to need to know for the trigger settings. The other thing you need to know about your engine is whether you are running a distributor with single coil or coil on plug, or if you're going to convert it. That's another beautiful thing about Megasquirt, is you can take an engine like this, which has a distributor, and you could convert it to coil unplug, eliminating the distributor, run the wire straight to the coil packs on the plugs, and make a beautiful whatever you want to do. It's beautiful, but you need to decide whether you're going to keep the factory, go coil unplug. If you have coil unplug on factory, you just need to know for sure what way you're going to do it. So now on to the part that a lot of people have been asking for, a full and complete, to most of my knowledge, parts list of everything that I needed to Megasquirt the Volvo and essentially to Megasquirt any car. One obviously is going to be the Megasquirt ECU, and two is going to be a wiring harness, and DIY Auto-Tune has phenomenal harnesses. Same one that I used for the Volvo. All the wiring is labeled what wire it is, like every foot. It's amazing. They're all color coordinated. No wire is the same. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. However, if you don't want to spend $75 on the harness from them and you have a little bit more wiring experience, you know what you're doing, you can buy a 12-inch pigtail that plugs into the ECU and run the wires yourself to wherever you need to. Obviously, you're going to want to buy a tuning cable. I purchased mine from the guy who makes Tuner Studio, the software I use to tune my car, because he makes one that's USB directly to the Megasquirt's serial port. Otherwise, you're going to have to buy a serial to USB adapter to use the serial to serial cable that you can get at DIYAutotune.com. And then, speaking of Tuner Studio, buy the license. If you are using it to tune your car that is Megasquirted, there is no reason not to spend the $60 and buy a license to get a full and complete, incredible program. This is a program I use to auto-tune the car, and there's so many settings, so much info, so much stuff you can do to modify it. You can change your dash, put it however you want it. And they actually even now have a version of it available for Android and I believe iPhones as well. So you can have a tablet, you can have an iPad, hook up your wiring from your Megasquirt to it, stick it to your dash, and you can put your engine speed, your temperatures, whether it be coolant, intake, you can put your map pressure so you can technically see your boost. It's just never ending. You can see how wide open your throttle is. So yeah, like I said, Tuner Studio, licensing, 100% worth it. Incredible program. Great program. I just highly recommend it. And I'm not even sponsored. Now, another thing you're gonna need to buy that a lot of people will forget to consider when putting together a little Megasquirt package and trying to figure out how much it's going to cost is you're going to need a fuse block and relays. At least if you do it like I did. Like I said, I decided to go full standalone. Volvo wiring is notorious for being bad if it's older than 1989, which mine is. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna make it completely independent. None of this nonsense Volvo wiring that's terrible. I mean, seriously, you can go in there, grab the harness, just run the wire between your fingers like that, and the insulation comes off. It's terrible. So I made my own fuse block and my own relays. Well, fuse and relay block, which there is a video on that. I will try to find it, put it in the top right I'll post. Very simple to set up. You can, however, use your factory fuel pump relay, factory fuses and everything if you want, but in my opinion, it's not worth the extra hassle. Now, one thing people also forget, and I know this because I forgot to order it when I ordered all my Megasquirt stuff, is you need an inlet air temp sensor. A lot of people put them on the manifold directly. If you're running boosted, you can put them on your charge piping from the intercooler to the throttle body. And as far as I know, you could even actually put it on just a regular intake. I can't imagine it'd be easy to set up on like a factory airbox intake setup, but if you had a short ram or, you know, a cold air intake with a cone filter on it, you can put it in that pretty easily. They're super cheap. Use a GM generic part from DIYAutotune.com. I think it's like $13. You can get it with a pigtail, wired into your Megasquirt harness, and you're good to go. Super simple. Now, here's an interesting one, because when I started my Megasquirt process, everyone I saw and everything I said I needed a throttle position sensor out of a Volvo 960 or 850, because the factory Volvo throttle position sensor for a 740 only has wide open and closed. There's no measurable position between open and closed. There's only those two signals. However, a 960 or an 850 uses a potentiometer style throttle position sensor, which has values read from open to closed. And the beautiful part is, if you can find a throttle position sensor that will fit on your throttle body, but you're concerned about the throw of the throttle body, or the throttle position sensor, the position it's in, because lucky for me, a company called YoshiFab makes an adapter to run a 960 TPS on a 740 throttle body. However, it doesn't line up properly. I was worried that was going to be a major issue, but the beautiful part is Tuner Studio allows you to calibrate it. Super simple. I'm going to cut to a clip of myself right now showing you that. Alright, laptop's booting up. My ECU is in my glove box. Here's the Tuner Studio cable. Just plugs straight into USB. Alright, there we go. We got the project file open for my Volvo. Turn the key on, everything connects. Now this is the one we're looking at right now, throttle position. It's at 1.6% right now, foot is off the gas. If I open it up, see I'm about a quarter throttle. We can go up to about half. Ooh, damn, I'm almost good. 49.9, and then we are a little off calibration, like I said, so I'm at full throttle right now, but it's reading 98.1. Very cool tool to have for tuning, to know exactly what throttle position you're at. And the cool thing about that is the easy way to do it. Calibrate TPS. Cool. Comes on. Close throttle. Get current. 195. Full throttle. Get current. Accept. There you go. Now we're at 0.2% and full throttle's at 99.4%. That's about as perfect as you're gonna get. Pretty sweet, right? So yeah, throttle position sensor is a must in my opinion. However, I have been proven wrong, sort of. My friend Garrett has a Turbo Miata, very cool car. We need to do a video on it. I've literally been talking to him about it for probably a year and a half. Like since I started my YouTube channel. He actually is in one of my really old videos, probably like the third video I ever posted, because he has two-step, so I was really excited. Now here I am with the same engine management system as him, and two-step is indeed a fun thing. There you go, there's a little bonus plus for Megasquirt. He uses the stock Miata throttle position sensor, which is not a potentiometer, it only has open and closed values. However, because of that, you don't have in-between values, which are fantastic for tuning. You can look at what throttle position you were at, for what engine pressure, and how much fuel you had. Just lets you be a lot more precise. However, if I were to say that it is required for you to have a potentiometer style throttle position sensor, I'd technically be lying. Now the big one, the one that causes the most controversy, the wideband controller. I purchased an Innovate LC2 wideband controller, having been instructed to do so by the forums I was reading, saying they were good. I've had a lot of problems with mine, burning out sensors long before they should burn out. I believe I'm on the 5th sensor on my Volvo right now. However, this one has lasted quite a while and been fairly reliable. So I can't talk too much. I could have just gotten a couple from a bad batch of sensors, but I did burn through 3 of them, I believe. And I maybe had them on the car for a couple weeks. However, if someone was to ask for a recommendation, I would tell them to buy a AEM Uego wideband. The X series controller, very nice, fastest reacting wideband in the world right now, I believe, is what they're claimed to be. Ross just purchased one. I'm really excited to get to mess with it. I will probably get one in my car. But there is another option, and it's a lot cheaper. There's a website called 14.7.com. That is spelled out, the word point. They offer a complete wideband controller setup, as far as I'm aware, for around $100. It doesn't have a gauge, but if you were, like, I'll be using one on the Rabbit because it's not boosted, so once I have good AFR showing on my computer and my tune's alright, I'm not gonna lean out. Not drastic enough to kill the engine under boost anyway, because there won't be boost, so I won't be running a wideband gauge. I want to leave the interior looking really stock, really clean. You can do the same thing with a turbo car. It's just a little bit more concerning. That's why I went with LC2, so I would have a gauge in the car, not have to have the laptop open all the time, just for peace of mind, so I could see if I got a boost leak, or see something's going wrong if my AFRs get wonky. That's not as much of an issue with an NA car, like I said. But yeah, 14.7 is a really cool option. They actually have one, I believe, called JAW, just another wideband, or JAW. And you have to build it, but I think it is only like $30. So if you are electronically inclined, and say you do Xbox controller mods or something like that, and you can solder little tiny pieces, because I certainly can't, that is a really cheap way to go. I've heard nothing but good things about 14.7 product. Now, the big question that everyone wants to know is, how much did it cost me? Is it cheap? And like I said in the beginning, no, it's not cheap. It's not expensive by any means for a completely independently running engine management system. It is about the cheapest you will be able to get away with that. I promise you that. But it's not cheap per se. In fact, I spent more on the setup than I did on my car. I got the car for $400. A good safe number to roll with if you're planning on Megasquirting and you're doing it yourself, you're not doing plug and play, you're building your own harness. All parts considered, including the wideband, crimps, wires, whatever you need. I'd say I spent between $800 and $900. That brings me to another good point. Do you solder, do you crimp, or do you use another method to put your wiring harness together? A lot of people are very opinionated on this, and you will get a million different answers if you go around asking on forums. I'm not going to say I have the correct one, but I will tell you what I did. I crimped most of the joints. Most of them. For the injectors and for the hall sensor, the wire that splits between the hall sensor to the throttle position sensor, it's just a power wire. When there was 3 wires going to one joint, I soldered them. And everything else I crimped. Hold on, I'll grab them. I used these awesome little uninsulated butt splices. Let's see if it'll focus on those. Probably not. But they're just like your regular run-of-the-mill butt slices like you get at Harbor Freight. They just don't have the PVC coating on them. Allows you to crimp them down very definitely. Make sure they're on. And then we just ran some heat shrink over that. Heated it, closed it up, and it's good. I love crimps. I've heard nothing but good things about people who have used them. However, people that don't use them are always telling me solder everything. From the other end of the perspective, there's people saying that with an engine bay getting hot and so much rattling and movement, you can break solder joints. I feel like if your engine bay is getting hot enough to start melting solder, you've got other problems. But I don't disagree that it getting warm could weaken it, and if it breaks, it could crack. Wire's done. Unfortunate. However, what I will be doing for this is completely different, and it comes courtesy of, well, a lot of people. I didn't really believe in it until our Lord and Savior Denma from Sloppy Mechanics said they were okay. I'm just kidding, it's not really to that extent, but I had never really heard from a source I trusted in that these were reliable, and everyone always goes, oh, the military uses them. So I'm like, well, okay, that's great for the military. But does it work? Because everyone's like, Humvees are great, you know, and so excited that you can purchase them as a civilian now, like actual military used ones. And every person that's ever been in the Army has told me, don't even consider doing that. Those things are pieces of shit. So I don't know who to believe until someone I know is a reliable source says it. This time it happened to be Matt Happel of Sloppy Mechanics. Wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel. Awesome guy, awesome truck. Awesome advice. If you have not checked out his channel, please do. I'll put it in the top right as well. It's gonna be full for this video, but they are these almost like shrink tubes, but they come pre-soldered with pre-flux solder in them. You just twist your joint together as normal as if you're gonna solder it, slide it over, heat it up. It melts the solder. Heat it up with a heat gun, I should say. Don't go with the lighter method. I know a lot of people use lighters for heat shrink tubing, but I highly recommend getting a heat gun. You can get one stupid cheap at Harbor Freight. Anyway, you heat it up, melts the pre-flux solder, solders the joint together, and then as the heat shrink closes, the heat reacts with an adhesive that sticks the wires together. You get a stuck soldered joint, and all you gotta do is twist the wires together, slide it over, heat it up. So I love the sound of that. I will be using it for this, and I'm wondering if you can get away with twisting 3 wires together, so I wouldn't have any actual solder joints at all in that whole harness if that's the case, which sounds fantastic. Anyway, I'll move on to the next point. Basically, it's up to you what you want to do. I crimped. You can use those little magic solder joints, or you can solder it all if that makes you more comfortable. I'm just telling you what I did. Another awesome thing about Megasquirt is an opportunity for upgrades that come easy if you're doing a full standalone system and don't have to mess with factory wiring and kind of can just put the wires wherever you want. one of the key ones I'd say is a fuel pump. So the Volvo came with two fuel pumps initially, one in tank and one under the car, which I initially was just going to use them, the factory ones. I know people have done bigger turbos, bigger injectors, and Megasquirt on those two fuel pumps, but I got talking to some people, reading some stuff on forums, and found out the AirTag E3366, I believe that's the part number, don't quote me on that, Mustang fuel pump and fuel pump for the Ford Triton V10, which there's one right behind the camera. It's my parents' Ford Excursion. It is pretty much a drop-in replacement. I actually have a video of all these installs. I will link in the description the entire build of my Volvo. There's a lot of Megasquirt stuff in there, and you can see all this little stuff I did. But I had two pumps that I believe together kicked out about 150 liters per hour from the factory. I now have one pump, and the beautiful part about that was all I had to do was run one wire from my fuel pump relay to the fuel pump, ground it in the trunk, done. Beautiful. One wire, no cutting, no splicing. Boop. Easy. Having that done, super nice, and I have a 263 liter per hour in-tank pump. As you guys are aware, if you watch my videos, I've blown the fuel lines a lot of times because that fuel pump is a little bit more than the factory stuff can handle. But thus far, we've been good since I finally invested in some quality hose clamp. But yeah, that's a fantastic upgrade opportunity with Megasquirt. You have your fuel pump, you can do just about anything you want. Another fantastic one if you're turbocharging a car that wasn't turbocharged, or you're taking a turbo car and giving it more power, don't be stupid like me, put a knock sensor on it. Very easy circuit to make. You can even request DIY Autotune builds your board with the knock sense circuit on one of the outputs, put a knock sensor on it, peace of mind. My car has a knock sensor, my Megasquirt has a knock sense circuit, I just haven't put it together yet. But it's a fantastic thing. If you are having someone build your board like me other than DIY Autotune, don't get me wrong, I love DIY Autotune. They gave me a discount, so check out DIYAutotune.com. Very cool guys, but I have a friend who's very good at building Megasquirt boards who did it a little bit cheaper than DIY Autotune would have. And you know me, I'm cheap. But yeah, it's a very simple mod if you have someone building your board, or you can have DIY Autotune put it in. Just knock sensor is a pretty good idea, something you should do. Now, finally, the hardest part of Megasquirt, in my opinion, getting it going. Volvo community, a lot of people are Megasquirted, but nobody Megasquirts a stock Volvo. That's the problem, is I wanted a stock map to start with. I got really lucky and found a guy who tunes them, who gave me a free base map to get stuff going initially. We used that, and then that very same guy tuned it remotely. Car runs absolutely beautiful when the turbo works. But there is a lot of people who Megasquirt a lot of different cars. You'd be surprised if you're thinking, oh well, I have this weird obscure car that's probably never been Megasquirted, I'll have no way to get it running. There's a chance somebody out there will have a map, or somebody will have that one will be close enough you can get it started. However, the easiest way to just get this all done if you're in that scenario is to just take it to a tuner. That being said, cars like Volvos, Volkswagens, stuff that is just Megasquirted pretty regularly, Miatas, base maps for days. You can find them super simple, and if you get a plug-and-play setup, they come loaded with a base map already. And then, like I said, another issue, or like I said about tuning, the best way to do it is on a dyno, but I also just told you that mine was remotely tuned from a guy, I believe he's in South Carolina, I'm in Boise, Idaho, and he got it running fantastic. You just gotta find somebody you trust, not to blow your car up, and be ready for that to still be a possibility. But, like I said, everything went fine. Guy did an amazing, amazing job. My AFRs are fantastic on that car. I love it. Just needed a different turbo. That's pretty much all I've got for you guys on Megasquirt. If I forgot anything, if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. Leave them in the comments below. Make sure you give me a big thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see what happens next. Get this Megasquirt build done, get the Volvo a new turbo, and get working on Ross's V8 swap and everything else we're doing. Please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to submit your entries for Car the Video, cursewordhelp@gmail.com. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.